Yo guys, Anboni here, and it's time for another arena commentary video. However, this time we're not gonna play our normal comp, which is Shatter or God comp, or actually Arcane God comp I guess. We're gonna play Shadowplay, which is Shadow Priest, Affliction Warlock, and then a healer, preferably a Holy Paladin, but also Mistweaver Monk works, and maybe even a Druid. The healers you kind of want to avoid are, of course, Discipline Priest, because then you'd be class stacking, and Resto Shamans, simply because Resto Shamans are kind of weak on their own and they do require some peeling or some sort of really offensive, in their face kind of comp. Whereas the weakness of Shadowplay is that it doesn't really have any peels. So if the enemy team decides to just train the shaman, he's gonna pretty much eat the entire damage. Instead, this comp relies on extremely heavy pressure, and really our damage is our defense. So if, for example, the enemy melee decide to go for our shaman or whatever healer we may have, or even for me, I'll just pull way back and force them way out of position. Actually, I'll just force them to follow me, and then their healer will be out of position, and then we can fear the healer and they will take massive amounts of damage. If the healer trinkets anything throughout the entire game, we can swap to him and kill him insanely fast, especially if the warlock has demon soul up. Generally, we just start up by dotting everything and we wait for me to get my orbs. Usually I just wait for 3 or 4, maybe even 5 orbs. Then I call to my warlock that I'm ready to go ham, and he pops his dark soul and haunts the healer, and we try to actually one-shot the healer. The combo is, we get full dots on the healer, and then we horror him into a hodge or bash or whatever stun we may have, into a silence, and they actually have to 100% use something in that, like either at the very least trinket it, or bubble or bark skin is not enough, as you will see. So they definitely need to blow some cooldowns, and if they do and if they survive, then we're back to putting just a lot of damage on the DPS while fearing the healer. And then when my horror is back up and we have Hodge back up and silence, then we try to one-shot the healer once again. Now keep in mind that although we did play these games at pretty low MMR, I believe we were somewhere around 1900 or so, 1800, 1900, under 2k anyway. The damage is still there even at higher rating. Of course, at higher rating it's gonna be a lot harder to swap for a healer like that, because their positioning is gonna be a lot better, and also the DPS is gonna peel a lot more. But yeah, generally this is a pretty good example of what the comp can do. So let's go over some of these games, shall we? Alright, so in this first game we're fighting a Survival Hunter, Enhancement Shaman, and a Resto Druid. And our goal here is to swap to Resto Druid and try to one-shot him. And we'll see how that goes, because their comp is pretty scary as well. So right now I'm just dotting everything as much as I can and getting orbs. But right here our pally gets put into a trap, and I instantly have to disperse because of Ascendance and everything else, and my pally was trapped and I was getting extremely low, so yeah, I had to disperse. Also my warlock does a very good job at peeling. I mean, he tries his best. He gets a Shadow Fury on both DPS, and the shaman, I guess he had blood in his eyes because he saw me at 5% HP and just trinkets that ASAP, and then he gets put into a full fear, so yeah, GG. Also, my pally was trying to sit the trap, but I tell him, please don't sit the trap because I'm gonna die straight out of this dispersion. And he does trinket and pop wings and tries to pick me up a little bit, and he does pick me up a little bit, but then he gets bashed and he bops himself there. But here I call it I want to go Druid because I do have 3 orbs and I'm ready to go offensive. I'm done with playing defensive. Plus I do a lot more damage straight out of dispersion. So I ask if my warlock's ready to go on the Druid. He says he is, and we're gonna get full dots on the Druid. I'm also gonna fear the shaman short here because I wanna stay offensive. I don't want him to like hex us or anything. I didn't even notice he was the Ardent Fear, but it was a good fear. And I do a horror on the Druid. And right here, if you look at this buff right here, this is an indicator that the Druid is using the glyph of Barkskin, the one that makes him immune to silences and interrupts while his Barkskin is up. So I noticed that, and I really insist that our Paladin hodges straight out of my horror and I don't silence instead. And also the Druid realizes that Barkskin is not gonna be enough and decides to trinket the very last second of the horror. And then he gets put into a full hodge, and like the rest is history. He instantly dies, and yeah, we win the game. So this was a pretty easy game. I mean, it was pretty scary in the beginning because I took so much damage, but it just goes to show how much insane offensive pressure this comp has, if played right, or let's say if the enemy plays it wrong, I guess. So in this next game, we're fighting against a Turbo Cleave team that is Enhancement Shaman, Arms Warrior, and Resto Druid. And this team is insanely strong right now. It's probably one of the strongest 3's team ever. I mean, not ever, but right now. It's the strongest comp. So they decide to go, really they can go on whatever they want and they can just win the game by not dying. That's their only condition. So they're gonna go on our Warlock and they're gonna put some really hard pressure on him. They're gonna kill his pet as well. And I'm just trying to get orbs. And at this point I'm ready to go Druid whenever my Warlock can put some dots on him, and I call for it. And we get a Hodge, like I don't know, our Paladin didn't call this Hodge, but it ends up being a good Hodge. So he Hodges the Druid in the Warlock's line of sight, and this was actually pure chance. The Warlock at the same time, he Shadow Furies both the DPS, so he can get he has 3 seconds of free casting on the Druid, unless they trinket. The Warrior does trinket, but my Warlock still gets the dots off. And the Druid here actually pops Sparkskin, and as well he has the glyph. And he pops Sparkskin, and he also trinkets, and he's at 20% HP with full dots and no trinket, and I still have my Horror and I still have my Silence. So you can pretty much guess where this is going. He also popped, the Warrior also popped the Last Stand, whatever it's called now, I don't know, it's something shout. But the Druid is definitely 100% dead here. I Horror him, and then I Silence him, and I dump all my damage. I still have 5 orbs, and he goes down. So yeah, again, it goes to show how much insane damage this comp has if the enemy does a silly mistake like trinketing, you know, really late, or yeah, pretty much underestimating the damage. He thought Barskin would be enough, but then he almost died, and he realized he has to trinket, but it was kind of late, and GG. So let's go over one more game. This game is a little bit longer, but it's really nice. You guys are gonna like this one. Alright, so this next game is against the Resto Shaman, a Fury Warrior, and the Beast Mastery Hunter. And this is kind of, I mean, this should be a pretty hard comp for us to beat, with the exception of the fact that they have a Resto Shaman. And they decide to go on our Warlock in a bit. I don't know why they waited so long, because they allowed me to get a lot of orbs. So eventually they go, I get put to sleep, and my Paladin gets put into a Warrior stun, and of course he's gonna get trapped straight off. And I should have gripped that, but I don't know, I'm rusty and I'm bad, so I didn't. So I tried to master spell it and I get shocked, and the Paladin decides to sit the trap instead of trinketing, and so the Warlock almost dies. He gets saved by the light, and even with that he barely makes it out alive. The Paladin has to pop his wings and his executioner sentence, and of course tops the Warlock off in like 2 instant casts, because, you know, that's how the game works. Meanwhile, I was over here trying to solo this Shaman, and if you're gonna watch right here, he pops his Stone Form and gets horrored by my VT. The thing is, if the Warlock would have been able to put Non-Stable Affliction, then the Shaman would have probably died here. I mean, maybe not, but he would have been a lot lower than he is now, because the Unstable Affliction does a lot of damage when you dispel it, and plus I still had a lot of orbs, so I still have damage going, but he just, you know, he's not CC'd at all, so he's just gonna line of sight and heal himself up. So I decided to just go back on the DPS and do my best to peel, in the sense of, you know, I just do as much damage on them as I can and force them defensive until I have Horror back up. So right now I'm just trying to dot as many people as I can, including the Shaman, including the pet. I'm getting orbs back. And I mean, I know the Shaman won't have trinket for the next swap if we go really fast, because the Dwarf Racial shares like a 45-second cooldown with the trinket, if I'm not mistaken. So if we go as soon as my Horror goes back up, then we can probably kill him without him even having trinket up. But we can't do that quite yet, because my Pally gets asleep, and then the Hunter actually misses his trap, but I was ready to MD it anyway. And I call it, I'm super ready to go on the Shaman. And my Warlock actually does get dots this time, so I know he's gonna be in a world of trouble. And I Horror him and I ask for a Hodge out. And the Hodge comes through and the Shaman trinkets instantly, which is good. That's exactly what he should have done. But I still have a Silence for him, and I put him straight into a full Silence and dump a lot of damage into him with Insanity, doing insane damage, and I kill him, but also my Warlock dies. So now it's a 2v2, it's a Hunter Warrior against Shadow Priest, Holy Paladin. And we're gonna be fine. Our Paladin still has bubble and he bubbles, and yeah. Right here I wanna slow-mo boom for the predicted trap, because the hunter just went really close to Paladin and slowed him, and then he tried to throw a trap. But we managed to take the 2v2 win, and GG. Yeah, there you go, that's the rating. I know it's pretty low. And that's it, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!